Oh no! AC family, they finally did it. My pet fire ants broke loose, and they're everywhere. We have a crisis on our hands. I feel this time I gravely underestimated the speed and ferocity of the Fire Nation, my massive, stinging, and aggressive colony of red tropical fire ants. And while attempting to rearrange their setup this week, they finally seized the opportunity and broke out, waging full-out war against me. It was clearly their moment to attack. You won't believe what I had to do to regain control and win this human versus ant war, all without harming my beloved pets. In this episode of the AntsCanada Ant Channel, we also take a tour of the new Fire Nation and finally get an amazing gaze at Her Royal Highness, the one and only Fire Ant Queen, who finally agreed to step out into the open for us for the first time in over a year. You won't want to miss a single moment of ant action and discovery ahead, so keep on watching until the end of this video to witness the joys and challenges of keeping an aggressive ant species. Come with me and watch how a new ant city is built and what I do when I hit the panic button in this episode of the AntsCanada Ant Channel. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon. Welcome to the AC family. Enjoy. Kicking off from last week's video, where I connected a new formicarium to the Fire Nation setup and embarked on a search to see if the Queen Fire Ant had moved in, I personally didn't manage to spot her, but as expected, you guys totally did. I believe I full out shouted to myself in joy when many of you began posting the timestamp at this part of last week's video, where the Fire Ant Queen totally is seen momentarily dashing to another room, evading our camera. Thank you, AC family, you guys rock, and I love that I can rely on your sharp eyes. Although Her Royal Highness was a bit shy in last week's video, I am excited to announce that this week she allowed herself to be seen, but all of that coming up later. First, behold the old Fire Nation. I say old because this setup has been like this unchanged for many months. 8 months ago, we added their last addition to these ant territories, a Rubbermaid bin we called the Fire Palace. So, the Fire Nation hadn't acquired a new territory for 8 months. But finally, just 2 weeks ago, we gave the Fire Nation some new territory to claim their own. We gave them a brand new AC Hybrid Nest 2.0, our brand new flagship formicarium from AntsCanada.com. And boy, did they love the new space. In fact, what shocked me was that not only did the ants move into the new formicarium right away, but so did the Queen. That says a lot, considering the fact that the Queen chose to live in an ant farm over soil, like they would have had they been in nature. It also reminded me how important it is to always add new, fresh, and clean space to an ant colony setup, and remove old units periodically after several months. As we learned last week, ants naturally dig new tunnels and abandon old living space if their homes get dirty, and ants living in captivity are no exception to this requirement. So as much as I loved their old setup, I resolved to make a huge Fire Nation overhaul, removing some of their old territory and adding some new. For months, I had been preparing for this overhaul by drying up their AC outworlds so the ants would evacuate those areas, and I had a network of new tubing, as well as a second AC Hybrid Nest 2.0, ready for the fire ants to move in. So I put my gloves on and got straight to work. Over the course of 45 minutes, I had to concentrate and focus at disconnecting the intricate network of tubes and outworlds. One of my goals for this overhaul was to make their setup cleaner and simpler to understand, rather than have a huge confusing spaghetti of tubing. I separated the AC outworlds from the setup one by one, and threw disconnected tubes into the Fire Palace Rubbermaid bin. Ants began pouring out of the holes like crazy, despite my desperate attempts to block the tubes and openings. Perhaps an operation like this may have been easier with 2 people, or even 3. But I realized this way too late. As I continued to work on arranging the new setup, I began to realize that I had gravely underestimated the magnitude of work that had to be done, and also the power of the Fire Nation, and they began to attack my feet. Little did I know, the ants had jumped off the drawer top and were all over the floor, biting and stinging my feet. The pain was just excruciating. I tried to work quicker, brushing the ants off my feet as often as I could. Finally, I went into panic mode. Usually when I'm disconnecting tubes like this, the few escapees are easily scooped up and thrown into their outworld. But I think due to the complexity of the disconnections in this operation, the ants were at a great advantage. There was no stopping them now, and they were pouring out of too many holes at this point. There were too many that escaped, and they were literally everywhere. I didn't have time to set up my camera to show you just how many ants had escaped, but trust me, they were all over the drawer, all over the floor, and all over my feet and legs, stinging me for trespassing on their territory. I don't blame the Fire Nation though, because to them, I was a huge giant enemy breaking into their home. I too would wage full-out war if some massive creature came tearing away at my country. My solution? The vacuum. Escaping ants is a very rare occurrence if your setup is correct and if you are wise when rearranging your setup. And in most cases, ant colonies take years to get this big, so situations like this are not common. But in the event that there is an ant escape such as this, I discussed in a previous tutorial video on this channel that an effective way to deal with escapes is to suck them up with a small handheld vacuum. I vacuumed the fire ants as quickly as I could. They were everywhere, so it took some time. Finally, after about 30 minutes of vacuuming, the situation was under control, and I dumped all sucked up ants into the fire palace. I had to do the dumping every 5 minutes though, because ants can dry up or overheat inside a vacuum for too long, which could kill them. I was left with battle scars all over my legs and arms. I will spare you the footage. But all that pain was worth it, AC family. Behold, the new, cleaner, and much more basic Fire Nation. I also designed this setup to be easier for the ants to navigate as well. Let's take a look. Let's start here at the Fire Palace. Inside the Fire Palace, you'll see all the tubes from their old setup. The tubes are all cloudy and dirtied from months and months of pheromone trails. I will give the ants a few more days to move out of the tubes before I finally remove them for cleaning and reuse. Exiting the Fire Palace, we have an ACL connector. All of our new poly tubing connectors at our shop are now 100% clear, so we can see more of the ants. Moving up the new and improved AntsCanada Pass, we hit an ACX connector, which leads to Solenopsis Hill at 2 points. Speaking of which, it's amazing to see Solenopsis Hill still such a hit hangout after all these months. Let's travel down this tube first. Wow, look at that fire ant highway, guys! And look, it seems the ants are carrying a section of the head of a superworm into the nest. We're about to enter their main hybrid nest 2.0, but before we go in here, guess what, guys? We finally have a name for this new territory. Based on your votes from last week's video, AC family, this new section of Fire Nation territory is officially called the Blaze Maze. Awesome. Opening it up, the Blaze Maze is as packed as ever. Look at all those ants. What an ant metropolis. Let's scour the rooms and see if we can find the queen here. As you can see, we have so many ants, a ton of brood, and some awesome ant highways going on in here. They have truly called the Blaze Maze their home. Okay, not sure if the queen is in here, but if you did spot her, leave the timestamp in the comments to point her out. Let's cover it for now. Most ants prefer darkness in their nest, so when I'm not observing the ants, I cover them. Let's backtrack now and have a look at the ants moving through this tube, which leads up to the hydrocombs. An AC outworld acting as a drinking station for the ant colony. Here is where I've put 2 giant test tubes for the ants to drink. A very popular ant hangout as well. Always has been. All that brown stuff piled on both sides of the hydrocombs are pulled out cotton mixed with ant excrement. I clean this out every few weeks. The ants love making a mess. Moving down the other exit now, the ants travel down a tube to get to the second and new hybrid nest that I've added to their setup. This tube, by the way, is the longest of the tubes that the ants have to travel. Though this species of ant does have a natural trailing instinct and can enjoy traveling far distances to get to and from satellite nests and food, I did feel the old setup caused the ants to have to travel unnecessarily far to get to places that were actually spatially close. So for the new Fire Nation, I made sure to make all other tubes shorter, so the ants could get to places quicker. Let's open this hybrid nest and see how they've settled in. Whoa, lots of ants here too! It does look like most of the brood in here are larvae. This to me says that this nest is probably more humid at the moment than the blaze maze. Wow, check out all those ants and brood. Do you think the queen is in here? Have a look. I didn't spot her, but perhaps some of you guys did. Let us know if you did in the comment section. Now AC family, I think you know what I'm going to ask next. What should we call this Fire Nation hybrid nest unit? Leave your name suggestions in the comments, and I will choose my favorites for the entire AC family to vote on in a future video. Leading out from one of the hybrid nest exits, we enter an AC test tube portal, to which I've connected 2 water test tubes, again for the ants to drink from. When the water from these run out, I plan on filling them with sugar water, just to change things up a bit. It looks like they've already been busy at pulling out pieces of cotton and piling it in this AC test tube portal, like they have in the hydrocombs. This AC plug covers one of the exits, and it has holes for ventilation. Speaking of which, what I love about having an AC test tube portal here is that it gives the setup a point of ventilation, so fresh air can enter the setup. In a big connected ant network like this, it's important that ants get enough air. So I've also included a breathing point here between the 2 hybrid nests and here at one of the exits of the blaze maze. Fresh air also enters the setup through the outworlds. Though ants usually don't want micro winds happening inside their nest, they still need oxygen and a place for carbon dioxide to exit, and these breathing points help with that. And that AC family is the new Fire Nation. Simpler, pretty, and easier to navigate for the ants and our eyes. Though I love natural nests like that of the Golden Empire, I do also love housing ants in artificial setups like this, because you get to see all the action that happens inside the nest. In a natural nest like the Hacienda del Dorado here, you only see what the ants choose to show you, with burrows against the glass. And this can also be cool, especially when other creatures, not just ants, are involved in the community. But in an artificial setup, like in this new Fire Nation, you exchange the community aspect for complete transparency. I love watching the ants move through the tubes, through a network that I carefully took the time to plan out. I love watching how the ants organize their brood, and not just scatter the young everywhere with no rhyme or reason. I love watching the ant highways. It's also therapeutic in a way, and I often find myself watching these ants for hours on end. I hope all of you guys one day get to experience these ant-keeping joys. By the way, all of the things you see here, in this new Fire Nation setup, save the Rubbermaid bin and giant test tubes, is available at AntsCanada.com. I have put a link in the description box to all the items at our shop, if you would like to check them out. And just a reminder for all of you ant keepers and wannabe ant keepers out there, we do ship worldwide. Perhaps the greatest benefit of having an artificial transparent setup is having a glimpse of the single most important member of the ant colony, Her Royal Highness, the Queen Ant. When peeking into the nest one night this past week, I actually managed to see her wandering in one of the rooms of the blaze maze. Behold, the Queen. Look at how awesome she is! Her gaster is swollen with eggs, and her cohort is right at her tail, constantly feeling the tip of her gaster with their antennae, so they're ready in case she lays an egg. With the amount of ants she produces, it seems she lays a new egg every couple of minutes or so. It's amazing to think that for the past year, we have cared for this ant colony, and this queen ant was the one that kept it going all this time. I love that after a year of keeping this colony, we finally get a chance to see her again. Just a miracle. And at that note, we say goodbye. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the AntsCanada Ant Channel. This is AntsCanada signing out. It's ant love forever. Alright AC family, so what do you think of the new Fire Nation? Do you prefer artificial setups like this, or natural nests? I will continue to add to this setup over time, and perhaps make it bigger than ever. AC Inner Colony, I have left a hidden cookie for you here, if you would just like to watch extended play footage of the new Fire Nation, to the sounds of some relaxing music. And now it's time for the AC Question of the Week. Last week we asked, what is the name of the fecal pellet expelled prior to pupation in an ant's development? Congratulations to Jessica Blakely, who correctly answered meconium. Congratulations Jessica, you just won a free ant t-shirt from our shop. In this week's AC Question of the Week, we asked, the fact that the fire ants chose to keep mostly larvae in the new hybrid nest indicates what? Leave your answer in the comment section and you could win a free AC Test Tube portal from our shop. Hope you can subscribe to the channel as we upload every Saturday at 8 AM Eastern Standard Time. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video to help us keep making more. It's Ant Love Forever.